Hey, Joseph All here from TechBldrs. I wanted to share with you some of the projects and learnings we've had migrating people from Dropbox over into SharePoint. Um, it really boils down to really not understanding the level of work and the data cleanup that's going to be required when you move from Dropbox over to SharePoint. So I wanted to cover that in this video. First, when Dropbox came out, you ended up with a bucket and a program. The program went on your laptop and it synchronized certain folders to the bucket that's in the cloud, and that was just for you. It was private. It was great. Everybody loved it and they got their own buckets. And then they decided, I'm going to share information that I have in my private bucket with yours. And so to do that, I need to drill a little hole and let some of that data out so that I can get into your bucket. And you have to do the same thing if you want to share something back. And that was fine if it was just one person or two people. But then eventually businesses got a hold of it, and we now share it with lots of people. And with more sharing came more lines that we had to figure out. This is what I call the leaky bucket model. We basically create holes in our bucket so that we can share the information out with all the people. This is the same if it's Dropbox or Box or OneDrive or Google Drive. Well, SharePoint's been around for a really long time. It was very complex to use, so people didn't really understand how to use it. But in effect, SharePoint is a repository. Think of it as a file folder cabinet that holds all of the company data. But we don't want access for everyone to have everything, so basically we give them specific keys. So an employee may have a key to access their stuff and read some of the company stuff. A finance person may have a different kind of key, something to access their stuff as well as the accounting stuff. A manager may have a different key to access some of the financial information, some employee information, as well as some jobs and so on. And of course, there's always the master key that typically owners of companies have so that they can see everything that's going on. This is the user permission model. So the leaky bucket versus the user permission model is what we're talking about. So when you want to move from this leaky bucket over to the repository or user permissions model, what happens? Well, the first thing that happens is you find lots and lots of duplicate data. The way Dropbox works, for instance, and if I wanted to share with you a file, let's say it was 10 megabytes, that 10 megabytes is actually now stored also in your bucket too. And if I shared it with lots of people, that 10 megabytes is in lots of people's buckets. So lots of duplicate data. You'll find that lots of stuff is shared with the wrong people because you share it and then you don't realize that it's going to be shared with somebody else. Typically not the same exact file, but maybe a different version. They'll copy it, make a change so that now they can have the permissions to send it off to someone else. And lastly, you'll be organizing them in different data sets because people store their buckets and organize them differently. You know, their folder structure is different than somebody else's folder structure. So you really don't know how they match up. So what you end up doing when you move it over to the repository set is when you collect all these buckets together, you got to deduplicate. That's a lot of work to find out where all the duplicates are and get rid of them. Second, you're going to have to purge it and merge it. Lastly, you got to recreate a filing structure that works for pretty much everybody so that you can give them the keys that they need so that they can get their work done. This is a struggle. This is a lot of human struggle because in most cases, we won't know your data and you're the best person to actually do it, but you could do it all by yourself or contact us. And this is where we can come help.